OK, let's take a look inside the Sunday papers. Kaveh, what have you gone for first?
Well, one thing that I picked out was David Walsh's column in the Sunday Times about Marcus Rashford. Now, obviously, everybody's had their say about Marcus Rashford in the last couple of days. I think David Walsh's piece is quite balanced. I think a bit more balanced than some of the things I read yesterday. A few of the columnists yesterday accusing Marcus Rashford of being a bad apple who's undermining Manchester United, making a fool of himself, embarrassing himself, and a player who's getting bad advice at the moment. I think what David Walsh does, though, in this piece in the Sunday Times is focus more on Marcus Rashford's performances on the pitch.
Right.
And he just says, looking at the way he plays, he's a good player, not a great player. Maybe he's not as good as he thinks he is, and he's not working hard enough for the team, especially when United are out of possession. Now, I understand why David has written this piece, of course, because Marcus Rashford is in the news. But I would also say that you could write this kind of column about quite a lot of Manchester United players this season, because Marcus Rashford is not the only player who has been underperforming. But I thought this was quite a balanced piece compared to some of the other comment that I've heard and seen about Marcus Rashford over the last few days.
Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned about the whole Rashford kind of feeding frenzy, if you like. I've seen a lot of stuff said by a lot of players whose extracurricular activities had left a lot to be desired when they were playing, first of all. The second thing is that when I look at the detail of this trip, a lot of it suggests to me behaviour that's out of character. And certainly for a lot of people looking from the outside, the whole characterisation of Marcus Rashford has given people who don't necessarily like football a stick to beat him with. And when you look at what he's done, well, first of all, when you look at the players, you're absolutely right. If the Manchester United side, he is not responsible for the problems at Manchester United, let me tell you, because there are all sorts of issues in relation to the club. But I just feel, and I've said this many times, about a variety of players in the Premier League. We, as an industry, talk about thinking about players and prioritising them and where they are and their well-being and their mental health. And then we have these pylons for kids in their mid-20s who are still making mistakes.
Do you feel this is a bit of a pile-on Marcus Rashford?
Yeah, I do. And I'd have no compunction about saying it at all. It's a story. But when you think about what's happening elsewhere in the world, it should be nowhere near the front pages. And I think we are in danger of going down a very dangerous road with the characterisation of someone when you consider that some of our national treasures are people like Gaza and Tony Adams, and Jack Grealish was all over the papers for kind of similar behaviour. We say, oh, what a lad he is, what a great guy he is. Sure. We are on dangerous territory with this. Yes, it isn't a great moment, and yes, as Laurie was saying earlier in the show, he has only scored 5 goals this season compared to 30 last season. But when I look at that Manchester United side, I see a variety of players whose performance level is way below where it should be, and we don't have this with them. And people might say, well, he earns this amount of money. For goodness sake, please, miss me with that one. However much he earns is it's not part of this debate. If he's in a bad place, he's in a bad place.
No one knows what's going on.
No one knows, and we've got to be thinking about the player in all cases.
And I think what Darren's also saying is that this has gone on for a long time. You know, since day one, when football was invented, footballers have been going out and having, too much to drink and feeling worse for wear the next day at training. If you actually focus in on it, what has Marcus Rashford done wrong that is so terrible? He went out drinking the night before training, before a FA Cup game against Newport, and he rang in sick. Now, how many people have not pulled a sickie?
Well, I've never done it, but anyway, okay.
You've never done that?
No, I've never pulled a sickie, actually. It's not something I do.
I've done it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie.
No, that's one thing I've not done. Yet. There's always a yet. Look, quick, we've got to move on to your paper.
We do indeed. The Observer, Jamie Jackson, on the Manchester United theme. He gets United in a chokehold with this one, and he squeezes it with the piece with loads of facts, hard-hitting, but... and very uncomfortable, but you need to read it. It feeds into the Rashford thing as well. He says that there are a number of players in the Manchester United side whose performance level leaves a lot to be desired. Probably only Luke Shaw in that back line would be part of a side that you would rebuild going forward. Casemiro, big wages, playing way below where he should be. Rashford should be on the left where he does all of his best stuff rather than up top. The recruitment's been poor, and he says that as things stand at the moment, that United side does not look as though it is providing value for money either for Ten Hag or for whoever would come in. You would imagine, says Jamie, that whoever were to succeed Ten Hag, if they were to come in, would rip that side up completely.